I want to begin this video by telling you guys I am a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I am a legit fan of this series. I have to give my perspective on it first. I love the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movie. First one's great, second one's my favorite, third one still great, even though there's plot threads I completely don't care for. Fourth one, I don't even remember. I watched it once a long time ago, and I think I fell asleep on it. I remember the ending, but I fell asleep, I think, for a little bit. And then now we have the fifth movie that is hopefully going to end this franchise. I pray to God it does. I really don't want a sixth movie. Anyway, and I'll go into theories and spoilers in a minute, but Pirates of the Caribbean, the fifth installment, Dead Man Tell No Tales. This one is about, it takes place years after the last one. The child of Will, I almost said Will Sparrow, Will and Elizabeth, that he is a full-grown man now, and he is trying to get rid of his father's curse, who is tied to the Flying Dutchman. And meanwhile, we have this new female protagonist who is getting caught up in it. Jack is just trying to, become a worthwhile bum pirate. He's just trying to live at this point. And we got some other things going on with Barbossa's character. He gets a lot of time to shine. And we get a new villain. This guy is this crazy guy with this... he basically has the Flying Dutchman curse. And he wants to kill Jack. And his whole curse is tied to Jack. And all of these people are also trying to get this magical item called Poseidon's Trident. And I don't want to go too much past that before going to spoilers. Before I get into spoilers, I will say I thought this movie was great. I love this movie. It very much, on terms of quality, reminded me of the third one, where, again, there's a lot of good shit here, and there's a lot of good ideas, and a lot's good on paper, even though some of it is kind of corny. But what is on paper here, and the utensils that are given, this could be an amazing movie. But then it just kind of comes up pretty damn good. I think most people are going to walk away from this movie like, that was how most people walked away from the fourth movie. Like, that was pretty good. For me personally, I think I have a certain attachment to these characters who are finally getting, not that they didn't have closure before. Each movie kind of gives them closure, but it kind of ties up their characters in a whole new way. So, I would say if you are a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, this movie holds that up, and I will say I don't want there to be a new movie. There is an after credits scene that points to that. I don't want that, but at the same time, I don't think there will be a new movie because it took so much to get this one out. It took years and years, and I heard this movie being made like years ago. And with how, fan responses and, people want this franchise to die, obviously, they act like there have been 12 of these movies, even though there's only been 5, which now that there's 5, that's a lot of movies. So now that conversation where people say there's too many of them, that is now warranted. Back when people said that when there was 3, I didn't understand that. That being said, let's just jump into this movie. Spoilers and all. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. I thought it was a great movie. We started off with this child actor character, and he runs into Will, who is aboard the Flying Dutchman still. They actually gave him the barnacle effect thing. I love that. Just seeing this character again is great. He's kind of fucking crazy also, which is to be expected when you're a fucking fish person. We don't see him interact with his dad. That whole thing is just like up in the air. I'll get into like kind of why the whole curse thing is bullshit. But that's besides the point. Then we cut to Jack, and he's. I love these openings to these movies. I love the crazy. It's like starting to be like we gotta fill this quota where we have to have these crazy scenes, but having Jack sleeping with some dude's wife in a bank, in a vault, and they carry the whole goddamn thing, even though it doesn't make any sense. And he's running around, and then he ends up with no gold. All of that was textbook great stuff. It filled the quota. Great character interactions. It was fun. It was dumb. Loved it. We had. I want to talk about Mr. Gibbs, and I want to get that out of the way. Mr. Gibbs is low-key an amazing character. If you rewatch these movies and think how awesome Mr. Gibbs is, you will be surprised because he has these really touching scenes with Jack. They're kind of like these best mates, like, and even though they're like these best mates who just get separated and like reintroduced, and they just run into each other all the times, and they have great conversations. I love their chemistry. In this movie, there was none of that. They didn't even like really hint at that. Mr. Gibbs, whoever wrote this movie, thought Mr. Gibbs was just another henchman. He did have that great scene where he, just gave the pirates, the captain's hat to someone else. That was great. That was a great idea. That was a good joke on him. But the whole, the Black Pearl crew, we only have, what's his name, playing the short person. We got Mr. Gibbs, and that's it. We don't have the guys with, we don't have a lot of these classic characters. We don't have Parrot Guy. We don't have the two idiots. We don't got any of that. So that's a little bit unfortunate. And again, with these characters, they kind of like when they were like getting held capture and then they got to break out, they're doing their own thing, and it's only taking a couple scenes. It was like, why during the heart of all these battles, am I worrying about these several dozen pirates who are just getting caught up in the middle and just happen to be conveniently wherever the fuck towards the end of the movie? We really didn't need them. I'm sorry, we didn't need them in this movie. Carrying on with that, we got young Will Turner, and I don't remember his name. Henry. We got Henry. He and his existence, it makes sense. Will goes on land every so often, so it makes perfect sense that they would, even if they're not married, have a kid. We get no interaction with him and his mom. So he grew up with his mom, and his dad is like this mystic, I gotta help him character. But we never see him like interact with his mom, and I understand why. Because we have to have her show up at the end in a big surprise. Whatever. It's whatever. Him as a character, he was a very minor character. He tagged along, filled the shoes of his father. He was serviceable. He did everything he was supposed to. He, has this dumb, I'm a good young kid face. I look like a pirate straight from a movie. And I'm a win this girl. I'm a save the world. Bullshit. Alright. He was alright. His female counterpart, Barbossa's daughter. The plot line introduced, even though it was out of nowhere, where that's her daughter or his daughter, I'm with it. At first, I was like, this is just stupid. This is kind of like way too out of nowhere, but I like the idea. Barbossa, like him having a kid, makes sense. And him leaving the way he did, the way Barbossa died, Barbossa really was the MVP. His character actually was held to a higher standard, and they did a good job with him. He had a wonderful conclusion. He had motive. I love that he, at first he like learns from Jack Sparrow. I swear to God, because he's like, you need me as a bargaining tool to get Jack Sparrow, who's a bargaining tool, and then he's like, well, fuck him if I can just get this trident. Like, Barbossa is like what Jack would be if he actually thought 2 steps ahead. It's great. As far as the girl, his daughter, though, I was a little underwhelmed, mostly because, they act like the joke with her is like, oh, she's a woman in a time where women, we're not, up to what they are now, respectably. This is the same franchise where Elizabeth Swann was, like, king of the pirates. And there was, like, other women on that council of pirates. Women obviously aren't, like, treated as they were back then in this franchise. They're trying to make it like they are now. But there was never, like, this idea of, like, women are just fucking stupid and not, like... It was such, like, if we weren't living in the time we are now, this weird PC bullshit time, I felt like those jokes and everything they introduced with her on terms of that, none of that would have happened a couple years ago, or hopefully a couple years from now. I thought those jokes were stupid. Oh, she's smart and she's a woman. Like, so all the other, like, master pirates who were women are just, they never brought up these ideas before. So, her minus that, I liked. I liked that she was kind of like this, Rey from Star Wars, plucky, go-getter, but I have a good romance going on. Again, serviceable. These characters are really only going to be, like, around for 45 minutes throughout this one movie, so there's not a whole lot you can do with them. So having them just be children of characters we actually do care about is kind of like the biggest thing going on with them. The Will Turner's son, Henry, half of his character is that he's Will's son. Finally, I think I've talked about all the characters. Oh, before we get to Jack, the bad guy, whose name is escaping me, but he has a very cool character design where he looks like he's underwater, and he's kind of fucking, like, crazy. I actually really enjoyed his character for what they could have done. I don't like the fact that his curse is basically the same curse as Davy Jones, and that confused me when the trailers were out for this movie, but he is a great villain. I like that he has this history with Jack, and that whole Jack as a teenager thing, I thought worked. The whole CGI people nowadays thing, I'm not against it, but there was that one moment where he spoke, and it didn't look normal at all, not even a little bit. So, other than that, though, I thought the scene worked. Him on the top of being a dumbass, I thought that was great. I like that he went from this, like, I would never kill a man, I would only kill a pirate. But then he's like, oh, this ship's in my way? Fuck this ship. Speaking of which, that whole ship filled with these, like, the usual British guys who, were vanquished in the third movie. But, now they're just kind of around. They gotta be around, but the fact that they're just like, oh, we gotta be a part of this, when we don't need to be. I thought you could have cut them out and developed these characters a little bit more. I thought if you're going to introduce them, get rid of them a long time ago. Don't have them showing up for the final battle. And then we get into the final battle. No, we're not. I forgot to mention, we're going to talk about Jack. His performance. He very much, like what a lot of people have been saying, he is Johnny Depp playing Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow. He is fucking he's out of his mind. He's drunk the entire movie. doesn't make a lot of sense. And the focus isn't really on him anymore even. He's being used for all these bartering tools and all that, but it's like he's not even there. I like the plot line where part of this is, he's not in his prime. He's not Jack Sparrow anymore. He's kind of a bumbling fool because he's getting old and stupid, and he just doesn't even care anymore. I like that idea. And you could have made that work. Like him selling the compass for a beer when he doesn't have use for the compass anymore. Obviously a little bit of a betrayal of who he is, but that's what it's supposed to be. I like that idea. I like, him waking up in this vault and he's just fucking drunk and he's like, oh, fuck, and he's hitting on all the women. I like that stuff. I don't like him being stupid every scene. He doesn't have to be stupid. The scenes that blur the lines between I'm a heroic / anti-hero master pirate, but I'm also this guy with a jar of dirt. Those scenes don't exist anymore. He's just a guy with a jar of dirt. He's just a fool. And at the end of the movie, when all the other movies ended with him recapturing that essence of who he is, looking like this hero. He's got the ship, he's got the compass. At the end of the third movie, he had these maps that made him immortal. He has a smile on his face. He's doing the song and the rum. Good Jack Sparrow stuff. At the end of this movie, it was just like, yeah, you're just an idiot with a ship now. So I didn't like that. I thought his performance in this could have been, in all honesty, Johnny Depp could have just done some of the lines differently. I think it would have made a world of difference. Or his character could have been wrote just a little bit better, and all of that would have been fixed. The final act of this movie, though, I will say was easily my favorite part. It was dragging for a while, but the final act, it was very much a Pirates of the Caribbean conclusion. There was all these dumb effects. This movie is almost written like a dumb fan fiction, I swear to God. Like, all these kids of the character be like going on for this big quest, hoorah. Very fan fiction-y, but towards the end of the movie, it was like, this is what Pirates of the Caribbean is. They were in this Poseidon's stupid lair where his trident is. And there's this big chase for it. And then all the curses of the sea get lifted. The good guys, are on this anchor as they're being rescued to safety. While the bad guys, stay and drown. Barbossa, the hero that he is, looking like Jesus Christ on his way down. All of that was great. I loved all of that. I do have a problem with this whole curse bullshit. Like, I don't like that Will's, whole arc where he's like, I'm going to choose my father over my wife. Like, his whole arc was, in the final movie at least, is like, am I going to be with my wife for the rest of my life? Then they get married via Barbossa and the great stuff that was that. Or he's like, I'm going to sail the seas with my father, who is down on his luck, and he's just, he's actually cursed. And then this great thing happened where he was able to sail the seas with his father because Jack Sparrow stabbed the heart and all that, and they had to use Will's heart. So Will's heart is still in this chest, right? It's still in this chest, just because, like, Davy Jones as a character, like, he has hell named after him. He's kind of like this, a Jack of Blades character where he's a persona that is being lived through by other people. Will Sparrow just became Davy Jones. That's all that happened. So when you say, oh, Davy Jones is just a curse, it's like, okay, so that magical, did his heart just reappear into his chest? That doesn't make any sense. I thought that was kind of faulty writing, and that was just so they could get this big scene at the end of the movie where Will reunites with his family. Keira Knightley shows up out of nowhere. I had no idea either of these two were in the movie, by the way. I knew nothing about that. I was just a pleasant surprise for me. Will being reunited with his wife and living forever after, not a bad ending at all. He already sailed the seas with his father for who knows how long. He, is a family man now. Good ending. Keira Knightley showing up again, great ending. It's just I don't really like when movies unwrite themselves, we had plot lines dedicated to this, and now we're just kind of putting it on the back burner, and now it's just solved, whatever. I still love the ending, though. It was sappy, it was great. They could have made it a lot better. Let's talk about the after credits scene. It was bullshit. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. It doesn't make any sense. Even if Davy Jones turned back to normal, which is, I think, what they're implying, he still got, stabbed and thrown into the bottom of the ocean. So he's not alive in any sense of the imagination. He's fucking dead. And even if his body returned, he would be a corpse. I really hope they never make a 6th movie. And who cares? Who even gives a shit if he returns? He's not an amazing character. I thought that whole thing was stupid. That being said, though, the movie itself, there was so much fun, there was so much good ideas, and there was those small character moments that still made me love these characters, and it was a good send-off. It was just, clouded with these things that I'm not too sure of. But in all honesty, Pirates of the Caribbean as a series has a bunch of bullshit, around every corner that I'm not too sure of. But I love the series for the good in it, and I think that's why I'll give this movie a low 8. I will still give it Soul Badge approval, 8 out of 10, all that good stuff. I love the movie. I just don't think I'll love it like I do the other ones in this franchise. That being said, I've rambled about this movie for a minute now. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Leave them down below. Let me know what you are thinking. And, just thank you so much for watching. And with that, I leave you.